We are what? We are who? We are what? Vibrant. We are who? 50 plus. Hi, welcome to Gray Lives on the Rise. I am your host, Professor Jamila Franklin, and we are coming to you from Oyende Enterprises, being sponsored by Jamila Sense, which is our product line of aromatherapy products that helps heal the mind, body, and soul. And we are bringing to you Alamaj's rebirthing program, as well as Jamila Sense and a host of wonderful programs that will help heal your body, heal your soul, and heal your mind. 50 plus people, we are here to stay. Gray Lives on the Rise. We are what? We are who? We are vibrant, and we are here to stay. Join us for our wonderful episodes. Thank you, and continue to look for our episodes weekly, being brought to you again from Oyende Enterprises and Jamila Sense. See you soon.
Greetings, everyone. How are you? This is Professor Jamila Franklin, and I am the CEO and founder of Gray Lives on the Rise. Gray Lives on the Rise. You see my shirt? Yeah. We are a movement. Let me see. Yeah, we are a movement. Tonight we have the lovely, none other than Reverend Myra Hicks. Myra Hicks, pastor of First A.M.E. Zion Church, San Jose, founder, Smart Ministries, she's dynamic, transparent, indomitable spirit, more than a conqueror, empowering, and anointed facilitator are truths that describe Reverend Myra J. Hicks, a woman who has overcome much adversity. Reverend Myra Hicks is on a journey of redemption, restoration, and purpose, and she has dedicated her life to ministry, healing, and transformation. She served faithfully in the AME Zion Church for 28 years before stepping away, a departure marked by profound personal challenges. Her journey was shaped by early trauma, including childhood sexual abuse and bullying, and later by struggles with addiction, multiple marriages, and a deep yearning for acceptance and love. Despite the darkness, Myra's story is one of incredible redemption. In 1994, she overcame her addiction and began a new chapter. Within a decade, she was ordained as a pastor and served as one of the ministers at Restoration of Souls Ministry in Vacaville, California, for 18 years. Her ministry was born from a single heartfelt question to God: why me? The answer was clear. Her testimony and deliverance would be the key to helping others heal from their own wounds and find freedom. This calling led to the birth of SMART, the acronym which is Smart Ministries, which means surrender, mindsets, and restore truth. A powerful outreach dedicated to setting men and women free from the chains of their past. With over 30 years clean, Myra's workshops have been described as life-changing, life-affirming, and life-saving, consistently producing breakthroughs through the anointing of the Holy Spirit. In February 2018, God called her back to the AME Zion Church, where she served under Reverend Oliver Jean Rogers at Peculiar Children of God, AME Zion Church in Sacramento. Just months later, in June 2018, Bishop Staccato Powell appointed her as pastor of Clinton Chapel AME Zion Church in Modesto, California. She was officially ordained on October 27, 2018, under Bishop Powell, presiding prelate of the Western Episcopal District. Reverend Hicks faithfully led Clinton Chapel for 5 years. In May 2023, she was appointed by Bishop Brian R. Thompson as pastor of the First A.M.E. Zion Church in San Jose, California, where she continues to serve with passion and purpose. Reverend Myra Hicks is married to her beloved husband, Terrence Hicks, whom she affectionately calls her angel. She is the proud mother of 4 children, and her life is anchored in faith. And one of her favorite scriptures is Psalm 34, verse 19. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth him out of them all. Her journey is a living testimony that God can use even the most broken circumstances to bring forth beauty, purpose, and healing. As Romans 8, verse 28 reminds us, we know that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. Now, without further ado, I'm going to bring forth the lovely Reverend Myra Hicks. Greetings, Reverend Myra Hicks. How are you?
I am well. I am well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm so excited about having you on here. Listen, everyone, this amazing, outstanding woman was dodging the Jamila bullet to come to speak.
No, you're not telling that.
Yes, she was dodging it. Others have dodged, tried to dodge it too, but I'm persistent. I am persistent. I asked her last year, and she said, "Well, I don't know, I don't know." And Spirit told me to call on her again, and this time she couldn't wiggle her way out of it. I'm so happy that she chose to be on the
Oh, gosh.
podcast today. She's amazing. So look, your journey is just so phenomenal because people think that ministers and pastors and bishops, had a pretty ordinary, clean life, and they may have had some ups and downs, but nothing really traumatic. They just got a calling from God, and that was it. So let's go to review what was going on with you briefly as a child and what led you into the ministry. So I saw that you were bullied, and I was bullied as a child too because I was very, very thin, and I was not an only child, but my brother was 20 years older than I, so he wasn't in the house. So in my neighborhood, I was one of few people. My best friend at the time and I were the only two in our neighborhood that did not have older siblings. And because I was thin and a bookworm, people just thought, oh, we can pick on her. So they tried to bully me. And so I can relate. I can relate. That was not pleasant because I didn't have any siblings to back me up. It was just me. And my
Mhm.
mom told me that ladies don't fight. So she didn't want me engaged in fighting. So I was like a rock between a hard place. At this, so I became very intellectual and was able to outthink people because that was my saving grace. But
Yeah.
what was going on when you were younger?
Well, you know, first again, thank you for persisting. You made me see the light. But as I was preparing, I wasn't really sure how to talk to, what was it that God really wanted me to say.
Mhm.
And I have been trying to write a book for ages. And the
Mhm.
furthest I've gotten so far is just the introduction. So if I can start with reading that introduction, and I think that that would give you a big picture of the cause of, and I heard it when you said in your bio that you do trauma that is from ancestral trauma.
Mhm.
And that kind of sparked, I was like, wow, wow, okay. See, I didn't know that part of your life. So,
Mhm.
but I think that this will explain the beginnings that has brought my life to where it was with the trauma, the
Mhm.
bullying, all of that, because when you're going through what I went through, you don't have any self-worth. You think you deserve all of that. If it's happening in the home, then it must be something that's normal, and usually in the people of color, it
Yeah.
is whatever goes on in that house stays in that
Stays
house.
in the house. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think if I kind of read this and then we can just kind of go after that
Okay.
with anything that might come up for you that
Yes.
you think that
Yes.
might help. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I sit here feeling very safe, protected, and secure. I remember the times I didn't feel so safe. You see, some say there is no such thing as a boogeyman, but you couldn't make Red believe that. She not only believed in the boogeyman, but she knew him personally. He would visit her quite often, and for a while she couldn't tell anyone. She couldn't share with her mother, her father, sister, or brother. She had to deal with that boogeyman all alone. The first time he visited, it was a friendly visit. He sat on the edge of my bed and began sharing what I thought was his deepest and personal feelings. Oh yeah, I remember how good I felt listening to him tell me how good our relationship should be. He would be someone that I could trust with everything. He told me that there would come a time that I would come to understand and appreciate these little talks. I believed at the time I was about 8, but after a while, the ages just seemed to run together. He gave me a good night hug and left my room. I do remember smiling and falling asleep confident of my new relationship. The visits became more frequent, but he only seemed to come around after mom and dad would go out. They would be drunk and no one could hear or see the boogeyman visit. I hated the boogeyman. I wanted him to leave me alone. I was so sorry that I believed him when he told me he loved me and wanted only the best for me. I remember him touching me in places that made me feel uncomfortable, made me feel bad inside. It felt like my whole insides would just fall out. I remember waking up and would be lying there next to me. I could have wrapped myself in my blanket like a mummy, but he always found some way to get through. He would cut the blanket and my pajamas with a scissor. I would always feel him trying to penetrate me with his fingers. I wanted to scream, but out of shame, guilt, and fear, I remained silent. I remember those words he told me years ago that he would tell my parents and they would punish and whip me for my behavior. I was convinced that that they would blame me, so I lay silent. One time I got the courage to speak up though. I asked my mother, should a girl of my age know about sex? I'm about 12 now. Her reply was yes. Then I asked, should I be experiencing it? And she said, of course not. Why was I asking? I told her that the boogeyman was showing me things and wanted me to do things with him. He had only been trying to help me really quickly, I told her. That night, I could hear my parents discussing what I had told them. And for a while, the boogeyman stopped his visits. So I thought. Just when I thought it was over, he returned. This time, he told me not only would I hurt your parents, but I would kill your bird, Tweety. I would stay awake, barely sleeping, because I knew if I closed my eyes, he was coming again. I began writing in a diary and remember him finding it. I went to spend the weekend with a friend and came home, and Tweety was dead.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone tried to tell me that it was the cat and that cat had probably scared him to death. But Red knew better. She knew that the boogeyman was killed, but just as he said he would do. Now, time passed, and there were many nights when Red would be awakened and found herself left with a sticky substance on her bed and her thigh. The smell was almost like pancake batter, but she knew that wasn't what it was. Not sure what that stuff was, but it was gross. Red was forced to do some things that just seemed inhuman. What is this? Why doesn't someone save me? Oh God, please, not another night. I promise to go to your altar every Sunday if you just don't let him come in here tonight. Well, God granted that prayer. And every Sunday, Red honored her prayer. She went to the altar every altar call and would pray. But something went wrong because the boogeyman only stayed away for a short while. But I had made a promise and I had to stick by it. Later, I learned that God honored exactly what I asked to keep away from one night. I guess I should have been more specific. That's my beginning.
And Red is the name that they called you. That was the nickname.
Yes. When I was actually coming up with, I did some work around my little girl.
Yeah.
And the woman that I was working with said, find a name that was pleasant to you. And I remember a couple that I lived with to go to school in another school district. And I was light, bright, like you. They bullied me for that,
Mm.
and bookworm and all that. And they used to call us Light Brights Red. And so that was the nickname that they gave her, my little girl. So that's what I chose to use for her. Yeah.
Wow. That is so touching what you read. Wow. And to come out of that to be where you are now, let's take the journey. But just going back to that, did your parents, was this boogeyman a relative?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And your parents never believed you?
Not at first. Not at first. My senior year of high school, I actually ran away. And the only way I would come back is if that was taken care of. And so instead of doing that, they moved me to a friend's house. And of course, I know that they were trying to protect me, but to a 17-year-old, it was like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
What did I what did I do? I must have did something. I'm now out of my home, you know. And so I always felt some kind of response, and because I wasn't heard, that I've learned through therapy and working my steps as I do in Narcotics Anonymous, because that's where I got my help from. Um, I learned that my trigger was I wasn't heard.
Mhm.
I didn't have a voice, Jamil. I didn't have a voice because I figured if you weren't going to listen or hear me, then what's the point? Why speak? So I remember I didn't like to read, and somebody told me to read the book "I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings" by Maya
Oh,
Angelou.
yeah. Yeah.
And even to this day, when I think about that book and how my voice was so silent, and she gave me the courage, to speak up, later, not right then. It wasn't until I got into recovery that I learned that I do have a voice and that I
Mm.
should use it, and
So
so
did anyone address this person legally, or because I know why the case first sings. Her uncles killed the guy, Mr. Freeman, who molested her. They found him floating in a river or something. So um, I was just curious about that. Zoom is frozen for a moment, so when it unfreezes, then we can continue. But I would love for women and men who've experienced this to really,
What
yeah,
happened? My computer just
yeah, Zoom.
I
It'll,
can't hear you.
okay. Can you hear me now?
Hold on, just I cannot hear you.
Okay. Well, Zoom has this has its mishaps.
I'm
It
trying
can
to wait for my
okay, talk to me.
okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I can hear
Okay.
you. I'm waiting on the computer to reboot, but for now we'll just stay on the phone.
Okay.
And
Okay. And
I
we
don't
would just have your still picture. And then when it comes back on, when we have a live shot, that's fine. That's fine. So I was just saying,
okay.
yeah, okay. I was just saying, asking if anyone dealt with this particular person, because I know why the case first sings. Her uncles, Maya Angelou's uncles, disposed of the guy. They found him in a creek or a stream or something. And
Yes.
because of that, she felt responsible, and she stopped talking for a number of years because she felt her voice had killed him.
Had killed him.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. No. Matter of fact, that person is still alive.
Wow.
And through learning about my own self-worth and who I am, I've been able to forgive that person. And God has, I mean, we're close. We're close. You cannot do anything to him without going through me. And
To
I
to to the
and
person.
to the person, yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
I learned that, the importance of forgiveness, because my life was streaming downward, right?
Mm-hmm.
you know didn't have a good relationship with my children. um None of my life is falling apart, but their life
Yeah.
is blooming, and it gives you that appearance that everything is going well in their life. And so once I found a relationship with God, because I blamed God. I was like, when I found out God knows everything, and you let this happen to me,
Yeah.
how is this? And when I got past that part of being angry with God and accepting, what was going on, um, I knew I had to get to the point of forgiveness, because if I didn't, my life would continue to spiral.
Yeah.
You know, I would never, and that's the one thing people don't understand. Forgiveness isn't about the other individual.
Right.
But it took me a long time to believe that, because I thought if I forgave, it mean it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Now that individual has never admitted, has never said that they ever did it, and probably will never. But that's between them and their God. I don't need the apology anymore. I
Mm-hmm.
know it happened. God knows it happened. And to be honest with you, I believe that I'm a better person because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to, I would never send anybody through the hell that I went through as a child growing up. Never. Um, but at the same time, God has used it, you know,
Yeah.
and in his using it, um, I've been able to bless others, show them
Yeah.
how to walk this walk with pride, and to hold your head up and understand it's not your fault.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I had to learn. It was not my fault.
Yeah.
And those that were around me, the adults that were around me, they let me down.
Yeah.
They did the best they can, is all I could say. You know.
So are your
Um,
parents still living?
yes, they are. Hmm. Yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
are. And I think that was the hesitation in my book, because they are still alive. You know, and I don't want the reflection to say that they were not very good parents, but we all fail. I mean, I failed my
Yeah.
children in my drug addiction. I was not there for them, and I've had to make that amends, and speak to them, and learn to listen to what their hurts were, so we
Yeah.
can all move forward. So
Yeah. Well, out of the pain, emotional, physical, mental pain, a phoenix arose and you had a resurrection.
yeah,
And because of that, you have a powerful story that you can share with others, which is really, really powerful. So you left the you left home at
yeah.
17.
I left home. I came back to graduate. I was living with another family. I came home for my graduation, and they were there, but I knew I was going to leave soon. I knew I was going to go to college. That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I was dating a guy that I was engaged to too. Um, but I didn't make it to college. We didn't get the money that was necessary for me to go. So I ended up getting married and went to JC. Had problems in that relationship because I had sexual issues. I had problems with sex,
Yeah.
you know. Um, as far as I knew, in the very beginning, I was going to my grandmother's Catholic church. And so I thought sex was only going to happen when we wanted kids. I ain't going to have no kids after the first night, you know. I wasn't going to have any kids. So therefore, there would be no more sex, and I don't have to worry about it. Not. Rude awakening. And so he was the one that enlightened me. Oh, no, you'll be doing this for the rest of your life as long as we're married. It's your obligation.
Mm.
And so it always felt like I was being raped every time, because
Yeah.
it was just not a pleasant experience for me. But then I learned
Yeah.
later the power of sex
Yeah.
and what it could get you, you know, and how I could get revenge by using it. And
Mm.
that's a part of my life that, of course, now I don't mind talking about it. It's my past and people can do with it what they want. But when I began to have to deal and heal, I had to face some of the things I did, some of the horrible things that I did, you know. And I did use sex as a weapon, I'd get into these relationships, I be everything that they needed me to be, and then a month later, what do you want? I'm not doing that no more. My body just didn't want to do it. And so I ran through relationships like that. And
Mm.
but it was a way that I thought I was getting back at that particular boogeyman that had hurt me. And all I was doing was
Mhm.
hurting myself. And that's
Mhm.
what we have to realize. A lot of times we do ourselves more harm than we do good.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
And you had no one to really help you unpack that and to sort things out. So you did the best that you could
Yeah.
because there was no one to explain to you what was going on. And the men were like projections of the boogeyman. So
Yeah.
even though the boogeyman was no longer in your life, these men were so you could get back at them,
Yep.
at him through them. So it's like
Yep.
a passive aggressive kind of thing. But we do what we have to do to survive because parts of you have been fractured, and so
Right.
you're trying to pull together all the pieces. So after your first marriage, and I'm assuming that you had some children with that relationship.
I had one son and I ended up losing custody of him with the father at the time. I had fallen in love with a woman, and
Mm-hmm.
back then it was, you know, not a good
Well,
thing to do.
yeah,
And and I didn't like the labels. You're a lesbian, you're a freak, you're all of that, you're queer, you're all of those things. And I didn't like that. And I just kept telling people, look, I'm not any of that. I'm just in love, and she just happens to be a woman. I didn't have to worry about sex. I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. It was more kind, it was more gentle, it was more, and I felt safe. I felt safe. And I was with her for about 2 years, maybe 2.5 to 3 years. And then I went to church, and I thought that preacher man was speaking to me, telling me how
mm-hmm.
wrong I was.
Mm-hmm.
And he was not. He didn't know me from Adam, but
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
felt I felt the guilt and the shame. And so I went home and I broke up with her. And that was a process, because then again, I'm doing something for somebody else that I didn't want to do, but I was afraid, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
was afraid. I already had been through this stuff with this boogeyman, and, sex before marriage and all that other kind of stuff, even though it wasn't something that I wanted. It happened. And so I thought I was already going to go to hell. And now I'm really putting myself in hell, just all of
Yeah.
those kind of things that come up for you. And I met another guy, and in the relationship with him, I was just trying to get my son back. He proved to be an alcoholic, just like the guy that, the boogeyman. And I didn't stay
Mm-hmm.
long in that marriage. It was just about a week. I figured I didn't want to put my son in that trauma. And then I met my kid's father, the two children that I had later. And no matter what had happened, I was going to stay in that marriage, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I deserved whatever I got. I never felt that, I felt I was wrong with the boogeyman. I felt I was wrong with the woman. I felt that I was wrong with this other guy. And so I just never thought, it was worth anything. So no matter what that husband did, I was going to stick and stay.
Mm-hmm.
And
So was there abuse in that relationship?
there was not physical abuse, where he was hitting, but there was total mental abuse. And I almost find that that's a little worse because the scars are not so, they don't go away so easily, you
Yeah.
know. And it was after that. I mean, we were together almost 18, 19 years, 10 years older than me. So, I had to grow up pretty fast.
Mm.
And, he did a lot of cheating. There was a lot of stuff outside the marriage. He became a minister later and still continued with the behavior. I thought it would change. And I just started to spiral downward,
Mm.
and that's when I got into the drugs because that's what took me out of self. I didn't have to deal with anything, you
Yeah,
know.
and it numbed the pain. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
knew I didn't want to be an alcoholic. I just knew that, and I thought I didn't want to be a drug addict because I had examples in my family that they just didn't end well. But I figured, oh, I could control
Mm-hmm.
it,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then there is probably at some point I could have, but then you cross that invisible line that you just don't know that is there,
Yeah.
and then it's over. And so I was in that for a long time. I guess it was only about 6 or 7 years that I was out there like that, and found my way into recovery. And then I had to, the stuff that I was running from, doctor, I had to run to.
Mm. That's
You
very
had to turn
powerful.
back around
It was
and
very
run right
powerful.
back through it. But
Yeah.
this time, deal with it.
Yeah.
See, I didn't have the tools to deal with it.
Yeah.
I didn't have the know-how. And so that's how my ministry Spark got started because so it's actually surrendering mindsets and restoring truth because I believed a lie. The rapist that was telling me, the molester that was telling me, you're not any good, you'll never be any good, you're not smart enough. And I was a straight A student, but that didn't matter,
Yeah.
you know. You'll never be anything, you're never going to do anything. Then the husband comes along and tells you the same thing. You're just,
Yeah.
you know, and so all of that takes part and it
Yeah.
gets into your spirit. Words are powerful.
Mm-hmm. Words and things. Yeah.
Yes.
The
And
thing.
and no matter, I didn't have the tools to fight that. So once I got into recovery and began to work the steps and to understand who I am, God helped me with the ministry smart. And there were three aspects at that time that God had given me. One was to know who I was. The second
Mm.
was forgiveness. And the third piece
Mm-hmm.
of it was to surrender.
Mm.
And so, in learning who I am, I learned I am beautifully and wonderfully made. There is nothing ugly that God has ever made.
Yeah.
I learned that I do have a voice. I learned that I can love. I learned that I have traits that people love about me. You know,
Yeah.
I learned to love me. I had an assignment from my sponsor. Look in the mirror and tell yourself you love yourself. Are you kidding?
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding? I can't do that. I'd
Mm-hmm.
sit there in the
Mm-hmm.
mirror, and it felt weird because it's me.
Yeah.
It's me. And to know that all my life, all throughout these relationships, the men, the women, the church, Narcotics Anonymous, I'm looking for something
Yeah. External, outside of you.
outside of me to fill
Mm-hmm.
the hole. And all I needed
Mm-hmm.
was Myra. All
Yes.
I needed was to learn who she was and how beautiful she was and how she can brighten a room when she walks into that room. Her light is
Yes.
powerful. All of those things. I just had to learn how to do that. And my favorite movie is The Lion King because of
Mm.
my trauma. And I could so relate to that little lion when he was a baby and going through life, Akuna Matata, Akuna Matata.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing matters. I'm good. I'm happy. I'm free until something from that past comes and smashes you in the face, and you have to go back and deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, and remembering that one person, the Rafiki in your life, and that one person was my grandmother. She
Mm.
used to tell me all the time how good I was, how powerful I am. I just need to learn to walk in it. You know, and
Did you know about your traumatic past?
she did. Family didn't know she knew, but yeah, she did. She did know. She's the one that told me, actually. she
Mm.
noticed the change in my behavior and some other little things. And so I stayed with her for a little while too. And uh, yeah, she was my confidant. And even when I got into the drugs, she used to always say, "It's okay, you'll be back." She used to always say, "This is not your destiny." You know,
Mm.
and I was so glad before she passed that she got a chance to see what God had really intended for me to be, the woman that He intended. So, you know, um, and the movie The Lion King is such a powerful thing because Simba had to go back. He had to go back, and that's the way through healing is to go back. And as a
Yeah.
little girl, I didn't have the power to tell that boogeyman off. I didn't have the power, to say because he used all these different things, my bird, my parents, my siblings, all these different things to manipulate me through the process.
Oh,
And
yeah.
now when you take your own voice back, I grew up and read the little girl in me is depending upon Myra to keep her safe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But
And
that's what
so,
they do. They are very, very manipulative. They use bullying and scare tactics. They would kill your parents. They would kill your siblings. They would kill you. No one would believe you. They would know that you're a liar because they're very manipulative with adults.
mm-hmm.
And I think adults are becoming far more astute in allowing people around their children
Yeah,
because they just really trusting. And even though it happened to people, people didn't really talk about it, but now it's being really talked about and exposed.
right.
So you made your journey through the drug addiction, and you were in this marriage for 18 years. Were you uh, also being called to the ministry during that time?
No, not then. It wasn't until I got into recovery that
Mm-hmm.
the call came. And the question, why me,
Mm-hmm.
came about because I've been through too much. What do I have to offer? And I shared that with you in my fear of coming on here. It was like, what do I have to offer? There's been people that's
Mm-hmm.
gone through more trauma than that, you know. Um, and then of
But
course
see,
I told
God
you,
spoke. I mean, uh, it touched my I touched my microphone, so it comes up. This means it's going to be an absolute marvelous podcast with all
proud
the
of me.
hiccups. All these hiccups. I love it. I love it. But this is real life. Real life
Yeah,
doesn't go along smoothly
it
all the
does
time.
not. No, it's like
This is
this and
real life.
down and then
Yeah. How do
sometimes
you handle it?
sideways.
Do you freak out? Like, oh my God, oh my God. The
Yes,
microphone
yes.
stopped. The video stopped. No, you just keep it moving. You
Just
say,
keep
okay.
moving.
You just
Yep, breathe through it.
do it. And that's life. So the journey that you had is just so powerful because you went through these marriages, these relationships, and you went into recovery, and that's when you began to find Myra.
Yes, yes. I found the missing piece.
Mm-hmm.
And when I found her and learned to love her, I still have some self-esteem issues. I still have problems with me time. I'm one of those. I am a servant child. I'm that one. And I love being of service though. I love it. I love it. I love it. And so there are still some hiccups, but nothing like it used to be. And I've just like I said, I've learned to love her, and it was a slow journey. It was I like you. I think I like you first, and then I like you, and then it got to a point. One of the assignments was to take myself out to dinner and on a date, take myself out to a date, just as I would do anybody else, because I'm good and gracious to everybody else. I could give you gifts and do all of these things for you, but could never do it for myself. And
Mm-hmm.
so she said, "No, I don't want you going to McDonald's either. Go to a fancy restaurant. If you was dating somebody, where would you take him for his birthday or whatever? Take the." I'm like, okay. So I tried it. I went out to dinner. I'm at this restaurant to come take the order, and I left. I couldn't. I just was so uncomfortable sitting there. So I went back and I told her that the next day. She said, okay, do lunch. Just take yourself to lunch and a movie. And that's how it started, just progression. Buying myself flowers, not waiting on somebody else to buy me flowers, buying myself.
Mm-hmm.
Today, you may come home and there'll be a bouquet of roses or whatever, sitting in my living room. Who sat you that? Me.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because I'm worth it.
Yeah.
And then going to dinner is not a problem today. I can take myself to dinner. I can go to the movies by myself, but it doesn't happen overnight. And I had to be
Yeah.
patient with myself. It's taken me, I'm 30 years clean as of November last year. And it's taken me all that time to give Myra respect and to honor Red. I
Mm-hmm.
watched a program with Oprah, and I don't know if you saw it with Oprah and Tyler Perry. And she put his little boy up on because he had also went through some trauma as a little kid. And she had
Right.
put his picture up there, and he couldn't look at the picture the very first day. It was a whole week she had him on, and he couldn't look at the picture. And she just kept saying, what would you say to that little boy? You know, by the end of the show, he was able to talk to the little boy, and he told her, all I could say was thank you. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how I felt about Red. You know, I had to write her a love letter and let her know I appreciate you so much, because if she had killed herself when she wanted to back then, you know, um, I wouldn't be here. And I
Yeah.
remember the days that I just didn't want to live. You know,
Yeah.
even throughout my marriages, it was like I don't want to live. The world would be a better place. Is what I told myself. You know. And so all the different stages that I went through in my life, I'm grateful for Red for hanging in, because she did. It was that little girl that had the courage to stick and stay and not leave this world. And I would have never been able to experience what I'm experiencing today.
And we wouldn't have this amazing woman who has started these ministries and been ordained and been appointed to serve in different capacities.
Yeah.
That would not have happened
Yeah.
because through the pain and
Yeah.
through the trials and tribulations, you have a story. You have a story that's different than someone who was born with a silver spoon in her mouth, because people can't relate to that.
Yeah.
Even though they're trying to be sympathetic, they can't be empathic because they haven't gone through that. They can relate up to a point, but a survivor of abuse can sit there and listen to you and say, if Reverend Myra survived this and went through it and was transformed and she's on the other side, maybe there's hope for me, because
Hmm.
she's not a person who's talking to me theoretically. She's lived the experience. And
Right.
because she's lived the experience and she's authentic, I can believe her. I can relate to her. I can see that she's not judging me
Right.
because of the life that I've led. So I think that's amazing. So you were able, once you went into recovery, that's when you started to become interested in the ministry?
Yes, I went back to church,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when God called me into the ministry. I didn't have a clue. I was just doing work with the homeless and talking with them, and I'd have these women meetings and all these things, my sponsees and stuff, and the voice spoke, and I just like, me?
Mm-hmm.
And you know how people say, why not you? Um, and so I started that journey, and just being able to hear. One of the biggest things that I've learned, or that I love the most out of what I've done, that gives me encouraging, was I was a speaker in a church, and I shared my story. And when I was started talking about the molest and the rapings, this woman was 90 years old, and she stood up and she said, I was raped. I was raped. And she said she had never said anything to anybody before.
Wow.
And so at that point, we had the caption, and so I walked over to her, put my arm around her, and I asked her, "Would you like to talk about it now?" And she did.
Wow.
And, just to know that by being transparent and understanding, and especially when I'm in the pulpit,
Mhm.
I don't want people to think I've always been this way,
Yeah. Yeah.
nicely dressed and makeup and, all that other. I don't want people to just think that I that's how I always was. I need people to know I came from the gutter. I was a dope fiend, you know. I prostituted my body. I did whatever I want you to know that,
Mm.
because somebody in that audience, somebody is going through that. And if I'm not honest about where God has brought me from, how will they know that there's any hope for them?
Yeah.
And my biggest fight is Narcotics Anonymous has thousands of people that lives have been changed because of Narcotics Anonymous. And then I go to church where it's supposed to be changed, where I'm supposed to have a new life, where people are supposed to love me. And it was just the opposite. And so I said, I've got to change that. I've got to change that, and people have to learn just what God has taught and what Jesus did. And that was just to love.
Hmm.
I can't judge you for what you do in your lifestyle. That's not for me. That's God's job. My job is just to love you through your process, whatever it might be,
Mm.
you know.
That's so powerful. And it's really interesting because in this society, through advertising, and that's why now a lot of children have really started taking their lives because you're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. With social media, they're always comparing, and they do a lot of bullying with social media.
Yes.
Back in the day when we were growing up, a little bit of television, but it's basically uh, in-person bullying. But to have in-person bullying plus social media, it's really, really challenging for young people now because everything tells them that they're not good enough. You're not tall enough, you're not old enough, you're not thin enough, you're not enough.
Not enough. Yeah.
Yeah, and it takes some strong parenting nowadays to really have them on the path where they see themselves as worthy and complete.
Right.
They're in process. They're not perfect, but they're in process.
Right.
I think
Right.
that's wonderful. So with your ministry, it seems like does it cater to men and women or to women primarily? So,
I, I did do a men and women conference one time, and it worked out really good. Um, because I learned that men have trauma too.
yeah.
And you have this image. I couldn't hug my male children for a long time because I always thought they were going to hurt me. That mindset. They didn't get the hugs and kisses that they should have, and neither did my daughter. And I was more afraid I was going to hurt her in some kind of way. But for them, they were going to hurt me in the end. And I went to a conference one time, and this guy had invited me, and he said, "I want you to come and go with me to this conference." And I went, and I was like, we were in a circle, and these people were talking about their sexual abuse, and I was like, what are these guys doing here? And I said, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. What could they do? And he just casually leaned over and he said they were little kids too.
Mm.
See, I saw my boys as men. I didn't see them as babies.
Wow.
And so every man that came, man, child, man, whoever, you were going to hurt me. And so there was nowhere in that room that I could sit there and say at that time, this isn't good for me. These are molesters. They're users. They're abusers, right? And I sat
Mm.
there and I cried throughout that whole process. First, it was my tears because I didn't really want to be there, and it was like, why am I here with this? And then I heard their stories.
Mm.
6-year-old boys, 8-year-old boys, 10-year-olds, 13-year-olds.
Mm.
From family members to church members to priests to you know,
Mm.
it just broke my heart. And it was just like, wow. And that's where my turnaround came around with my boys, that I was able to hold them and hug them because they missed out on a lot. They didn't get that from me. because I was afraid they were going to abuse me in some kind of way. So,
That is amazing. But before we go further, I don't want us to run out of time. Please give us your information, your contact information.
oh, okay. My email is, I just got that email address. Hold on.
You
It
know,
is,
as you're looking for it, Reverend Myra is just phenomenal. I mean, I'm at a loss for words because what I do is I don't usually ask people all the questions when we have our discovery call because I like to be very involved as you, the audience, finding out people's stories and knowing that I'm being very authentic because I didn't know most of this information that she's conveying now. So I'm just so impressed, very
oh,
impressed.
thank
Yeah,
you.
very impressed because you've traveled miles emotionally, personally. You've just I mean, I'm at a loss for words. It's just so amazing. And I would like the men and women to have the opportunity to meet with you. I know tonight, later on tonight, you're going to do a Women of Worth conference that I'm attending virtually.
Oh, okay.
So women and women, you should definitely get in touch with Reverend Myra. Okay.
Yes, I can be reached at my phone number. Let me give the email. Myra.smartmin, M-I-N, at gmail.com.
Okay. And Myra is Myra.
Yes.
Okay.
Dot,
Got.
period, at SMARTMIN at gmail.com.
Mhm.
And then if you send that way, I'll give the phone number out that way.
Okay.
We'll
Yeah.
go
I
through
think
the
it's
email
best.
first.
Yeah, I think that's best.
Yeah.
So if women would like to attend the Women of Worth sessions that you have, they can send you an email and be included on your email list.
Yes, they can. They can.
And if
Yep.
you would like to have a private session with Reverend Myra, who's in California, that can be done too. Send all of your questions, comments to her email address. And we
Yes.
are going to have it also underneath the video so you can get in touch with her to talk to her one-on-one, to have a discovery call and to have a session, a counseling session with her.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd be more than
So,
happy to.
yeah, and in the few minutes that we have left, so you're now, tell us what you're currently doing.
Currently, I am getting ready to retire from the secular world. I'm preparing myself to do that. I just celebrated 70 years old. Yay. And
Today?
this, the the 3rd of August.
Happy birthday
Oh
to
no.
you. Happy solar return to you.
Yes.
Happy Earth Day, Reverend Myra. Happy birthday to you. Stevie has
Thank
nothing to
you.
worry about. Jamila
Thank
would never
you.
make a record.
Yes, so I'm doing that. I'm also the pastor of, as you had stated, the First A.M.E. Zion Church here in San Jose, California. And we're located on 95 South 20th Street. We start service at 11 o'clock. I also have a Zoom. We're on Facebook, trying to get a Facebook presence. So we're trying to get people to go online on Facebook, look for First. That's number 1 ST, AME Zion Church. You'll see my picture and just like and follow. Then we can live stream. They made us now have to have 100 people before we can get on and live stream. So that's what I'm really doing. I'm just trying to, when I do retire, I want to go the full time into SMART and also into the church ministry and just do whatever it is that God has called me to do. I've been can't travel when I'm in a secular job, as much as I want to, unless you have vacation. So I'm limited in that review. So that's what I'm up to these days.
So, and you have how many children?
I have 3 that I've birthed, 1 that I've raised since she was 9, and I have other daughters in the ministry. So total, it is about 7.
And any grandchildren?
Oh, yes. I have 20, I think it's 20 grandchildren and 2 great grands
Wow.
from my loins. And then the
Wow.
rest, I can't even begin to count. It's probably into the 30s grands, and then maybe 15 great grands. So,
Whoa.
yeah,
Whoa. That's amazing.
God is good. He's
You are leaving a powerful legacy for your children, your grands and your great grands. They look at you and say, if Nana can do it, I can do it.
good.
A
I
walking
hope so, because
testimony.
that's, I didn't feel like I did my kids right, and God has given me the chance with the grandchildren, and they love me. They want to hang out with me. Can you believe that?
Oh, of
So
course. Of course.
it's remarkable. It's remarkable.
Of course. But imparting uh in what the 30 seconds or less, what would you like to leave with the listening audience?
You know, the key thing I like to say, and this is a tribute to Miss Doctor now, Darla Davenport Powell,
Who is going to be on the
on her
podcast?
show. That's right. We're
Yes,
claiming
yes,
it. It's gonna
yes.
happen. Um, just you're enough. That's her logo, and we both have talked it throughout our walk. Just know that you're enough.
Yes.
Just who you are. Just be who you are. You know, don't let anyone ever tell you that you're not worthy, because you are.
Enough said. And on that note, we thank you so much, the incredible, resilient, powerful Reverend Myra Hicks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kudos to you. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
showing us that there is life on the other side of trauma,
There
intense
is.
trauma.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Never, ever, 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 ever give up.
Never.
Never give up. So having said that, thank you so much, Reverend Myra. And for you who are tuning in, and for those who tune in every Sunday, thank you so much. We thank you. And also go to Great Lives on the Rise YouTube channel. Click, like, and subscribe so you would never miss one of these amazing episodes. And go to our store, Great Lives on the Rise. Reverend Myra has ordered her merchandise, and it is going to come. You're going to see her beautiful face with her merchandise when it comes. We're going to put her on our Facebook timeline and on our YouTube channel. So,
Hey.
so if you want to be in the know, Great Lives on the Rise. Okay. Thank you so much, beloveds. And until next time, be safe and be well. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Gray Lives on the Rise, being brought to you by Jamila Scents, which is the product line of Oyende Enterprises. Jamila Scents is a 100% natural aromatherapy line that heals the mind, body, and soul. This episode of Gray Lives on the Rise was intended to uplift you, to inspire you, and to motivate you. Please tell all of your friends, family members, and anyone you know who's 50 plus, who's living a vibrant life and interested in doing more and enjoying life even to its fullest. So thank you, and please subscribe, like, and comment on this video and all our videos. Thank you, and until next time, until our next podcast, namaste and be well.